So all I did was spend my time trying to make sure I played the best events, that I was everywhere. But then when the world stopped, none of that mattered. I was by myself. So when it comes to when people discuss like saving the world with music, like I tell you, initially I was just trying to save myself.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Shanti, the host of the Mibo Show podcast. And I am just, I'm so excited, y'all. We made it. We made it to season 2. We're out here trying to do the good work all around mind, body, wellness. And last year was certainly, it was our inaugural year, and it marked the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And we launched the Mibo Show to celebrate 50 years of the genre with a special focus on the intersection of health, both physical and mental, and the culture. And let me tell y'all, we had robust conversations with the legendary Eric Sermon of EPMD on heart health, to the radio host Charlemagne the God talking about mental health. We talked to the iconic female MCs, MC Light, my girl Yo-Yo on women's health, David Banner, so many more people, Bone Crusher. We talked to Big Tigger on hip replacement. It was just really great. And so if you haven't checked out season 1 of the Mibo Show, now is a great time for you to binge it. It's available on YouTube and all audio platforms for podcasts. And it really was a phenomenal season. And so I'm just, again, grateful to be back. We're back with all of our hopefully new podcast fans for this incredible season 2. And the season will open the conversation up this year to athletes, actors, civic leaders, musicians, and so much more. So, we are here again to live at the intersection of health and culture and just really bring these conversations to the forefront so we can help you as well as your family members live their best lives and focus on what's most important in our lives, which I like to think is health and wellness. So, okay, y'all, I'm going to have to fan out for just a little bit, but I've been trying to get my brother on the podcast for a while. He is worldwide, y'all. He is global. He's always doing something phenomenal for our community and for our culture. And we're going to talk about Black men's mental health today. So we have joining us the one, the only, legendary American DJ, record producer, and rapper who began his career in the mid-1980s with the hip-hop group Boogie Down Productions, BDP, as they say. And in March of 2020, D-Nice began hosting Homeschool at Club Quarantine on Instagram Live from his home as a way for people to come together and virtually socialize and help others cope with the COVID-19 global crisis. And I can say, y'all, I think I was one of 200, maybe 300 people that was on day one. And so it really has truly been an honor to watch what he has done and how he has grown this thing worldwide. So again, one of the biggest nights, D had over 100,000 people partying on social media, including, but not limited to, former First Lady Michelle Obama, Janet Jackson, Mark Zuckerberg, Sheila E., Lenny Kravitz, just a few folks you might have heard from before, right? And so many more. And so again, D, just, thank you for what you did. I don't think you understand, well, you probably do now, and you probably get it a lot, but just the magnitude of what you did for us as a culture. So I just want to give a big Mibo Show welcome to the legendary Derek D-Nice.
Yes. So good to finally be here with you. By the way, I'm super proud of you, and I'm ready for this conversation.
Thank you so much. It's going to be good, and it's going to be personal, and whatever you want to say and share, it'll be awesome for our listeners. And next up, I want to introduce someone that I've just recently had the pleasure of meeting, but she truly is someone that's on the front lines and has been helping our communities from a national perspective. We have Miss Denise Octavia Smith. She is the inaugural executive director of the National Association of Community Health Workers, building a movement to center lived experience and racial equality, address structural barriers, and transform policies, systems, and sectors for health and well-being. Welcome to the show, Denise.
Thank you so much. It is truly awesome to be here. And congratulations. I'm learning more about your history and everything you've been doing with the show. We need true champions of health and well-being. So really appreciate everything you're doing today. And of course, it's awesome to be here with D-Nice. So
yeah, that's just a special bonus, right? All right, thank you both. So I'm going to jump right in the interest of time, because I know you both are really busy. So Derek, I'll ask you the first question. establishing Club Quarantine during the pandemic, you helped out so many people dealing with anxiety, fear, isolation, and literally saved lives, even though I know you did it maybe with the intent of kind of helping yourself and a few people, but I don't know if you knew that it would have that such a profound impact on so many folks. What was one of the most memorable messages you received from someone who tuned into CQ, and how did it help your own struggles that you were dealing with at the time?
Like you said, when I initially started the virtual party, it wasn't about helping people. It was just a way for me to also be connected. And I early on, I knew how special it was. You know, it's probably like about day 3 or day 4. Our buddy Donnie Wahlberg, he called me up after one of the sets, and he said, "You know, I don't think you understand what you're doing because you're not reading the comments." He's like, "I'm reading the comments, and people, you're literally saving lives." He's like, "Some people feel extremely depressed right now, and this virtual space for them is like, you know, something that's so necessary." You know, there were. I mean, I can't even just name one. There were so many like times when I would read, you know, comments, and I mean, you can read the pain that people were experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, going online wasn't just about playing music. I can play music at home and just be happy, you know, or listen to talk radio, which is what I enjoy. I kept going online because I would read these comments from people that would say like, "Hey, I'm home alone, and I found this community, and this is amazing." And then I would also have I would think about all of the women who were at home, and you know, or men too, that could have been in like abusive relationships, and now we're all
Mm,
stuck in a house with, you know, someone that's an abuser, and the only escape was music, because remember, we couldn't go anywhere. Now you're like
that's
stuck
right.
at home, or the parents who, you know, you wake up at 6 in the morning, get your kids ready to school, go to work, then after school, after work, you see your kids for 2 hours and repeat. Now they're at home 24 hours with the same kids, and it was like people use this as an escape, and I noticed that, and that's why I try to be as authentic as possible with the music. I always imagine that, you know, there were people sharing this music with their families, so I had to be mindful of what I was playing, what kind of energy I was putting out there, and you know, and I will not, I won't say I will never forget it because of the feeling of music. I'll just never forget that time, because I really did understand that what we were all doing together was really changing lives.
It really was. And how do you think it helped your own, struggles at the time? Like, what did it, is there anything else you'd like to add about what it did for you?
I mean, what it did for me was a sense of purpose that I already knew that I had anyway in life. Doing things like this has been, you know, doing things with purpose has always been like at the forefront of like my entire career, whether it was self-destruction when I was 18, or, you know, Stop the Violence records, or, you know, when I became, you know, as an adult, I, you know, became a surrogate. So I always had a voice. I've always had a voice for presidents. Always did all of those things. But what this did for me, outside of just amplifying that voice, was that it kind of like showed me that even though ageism exists, man, when you do
Mm.
something that's just from your heart, it can break through, you know, and that's what happened. You know, now I'm able to play the music that I love. I have the voice now. I can say what I feel about things, and say it loudly and proudly. And it's just been like a great time for me for in terms of that.
I'm so proud of you. And I can personally say, when I saw you go on the first time, I thought, okay, this is cool. And it took me a second to like realize, I didn't realize how much I was missing community. And of course, we both worked in entertainment for a very long time, and now I work in the nonprofit space. But I've always had a genuine love for music. But it's no secret, a lot of people know that I suffer from depression, and I also lost my sister in 2019, which nearly threw me back into a really dark depression. And then my mother was, suffering with Alzheimer's, and I couldn't go to Charlotte to see her. I literally drove to see my mom, and I had to wave at her through a window. And
Yes.
so there were often times that, CQ was the only thing that got me through. And I just want to publicly thank you. I know I've said that to you in passing, but you don't know even what you did for me during that time. And I was trying to help everybody else and pour into them from a mental health perspective. But it was really, really difficult for me. There's this notion, about having to heal the healer, right? And so I felt like I was really just finding my healing through tuning in to CQ. And then, we would joke in the comments and say, oh, meet me at the bar, or, oh, I'm coming to buy a bottle and send it to your table. But it really was an escape for us. And so it was just very beautiful what you did for all of our mental health. And it was nice too to see families coming together, having family time, listening to CQ, right? So you cross generations with that. So it was really awesome. So just thank you again for that.
I also think like just during that time, when you're in the industry, and I don't even just want to say music industry, when you are self-employed, you have all these people working for you, most times you neglect your family. That's just happens when you work 18 hours a day, you come home, you may have time for dinner with your family. Sometimes you may not. Sometimes it's only a weekend thing where you can sit down with family. What I learned during that time was that I had just totally neglected myself because I was so engulfed in like wanting to have this successful feeling in our business. Like I said earlier, ageism exists, and it's like people almost made it seem like there was no room for a 49-year-old DJ, and like so all I did was spend my time trying to make sure I played the best events, that I was everywhere. But then when the world stopped, none of that mattered. I was by myself. So when it comes to when people discuss like saving the world with music, like I tell you, initially I was just trying to save myself. I was trying to save my sanity because I looked around at, this beautiful apartment I was living in. But as beautiful as it was empty. And it was empty. There was no love in there. Yeah, I had possessions in there, but there was no love. So when I signed online and I started seeing those names pop in, and your name, Chuck Bone, and this one, and John C., whatever, I don't know, like just familiar like names, Instagram names that would come back. And the next day, that made me feel like I was in a room full of love. And that's how I got through it. So when they say CQ got them through, like, yeah, it got me through too. And I think that that's why it resonated with everyone. It was because it was the same feeling that we all had.
Such a beautiful feeling. Denise, I want to give you a chance to comment because you obviously, I know that you were on the front lines virtually and working from home and dealing with a lot of our community health workers. What was that like? And how important was it that, Denise was bringing love to community, even if it was virtual, it was connecting us all, right, in such a difficult time?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for being transparent about the journey, right? That was for yourself and your healing, and how it became a space of healing for other people. And that maps so well with the lived experience of all the community health workers I know, because I want people to think about CHWs, community health workers, as survivors and thrivers, right? All of us have a testimony. All of us have this journey where we had to find our own power. We had to admit our own weakness, right? We had to access systems or services or people, right? So that we could have a journey to wellness. And some of us are still on that journey, but then we made a decision to turn around and help others, right? And so we're living in the community. We look like the community. We're committed. We're compassionate about folks who live like and look like us. And so during COVID-19, the National Association of Community Health Workers, right, we started hearing from CHWs all over the place, talking about how they were becoming disconnected, right? Because they work in small community-based organizations or nonprofits or your local clinic, your health center. And when those places started shutting down, they were having trouble, right? Connecting to that mom, that dad, that elder that they were providing services to. So the stress level of CHWs was becoming really high. We started to hear about isolation, people, putting down their self-care, right? And picking up substances or feeling those thoughts, right, of suicide. So it was something, the mental health of CHWs, as we were thinking about the mental health of our community. So we have this shared experience, right? And we're all saying that music, among other things like real community, was healing for us. We all needed it.
Absolutely. And we are in May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? We're in the midst of that. This is kicking off Mental Health Awareness Month. And Derek, as a Black man, I think it is even more like important and poignant that you did this, opening up, right, the opportunity for people not even realizing it, so to speak, to kind of address some of their experiences in terms of fear and anxiety. And, research shows that, Black men who experience feelings of anxiety or depression are about half as likely, right, to seek counseling as their white peers. And so as we do focus on Black men and mental health, Dee, what do you think are reasons that Black men tend to refuse to seek therapy or just kind of talk about how they're feeling? And then what message can you give to them, like who can they talk to or how can they talk about their feelings?
I'll tell you. I can only speak from my experience, and I can tell you why I didn't seek help in the past. It didn't feel like the cool thing, growing up in the inner city, growing up in the Bronx, it was always like you had to be manly. You had to be manly. You couldn't cry. You couldn't have these experiences. You had to get out and do what was necessary to either provide for your family, take care of yourself, to whatever it was, and I fought with that for a very long time. It took me a long time to get to this space of like just being open and honest about things. Like I remember, this has nothing to do with just CQ or the pandemic. I remember being in a relationship that it ended, and it was the very first time that I went to therapy. Like I had never gone to therapy before, but my heart was like a little broken, and I was like, man, I really do need. And I was an adult, full on adult, well into my 30s, and it's like, yo, you know what? I actually need to talk to someone about this, like because I didn't know how to break through it, the feeling. And when I had this conversation with the therapist, and I realized that even in that particular relationship, it was never really about her. It was like about this person that I was in love with when I was like 15. And I wanted that person to be this other person. I wanted her to still be that person. And that was the first time that I ever sat down and spoke to someone about what was really going on. And from then on, like I didn't believe in internalizing these things, like I've seen too many of my friends who, either committed suicide or cause some bodily harm to themselves. Like I've seen this already, and I remember certain conversations that I would have with them, and I didn't take it seriously because I didn't recognize the conversation. How could you be in a car with one of your best friends and hear your best friend say, hey, sometimes I want to jump off the bridge. And, I just brushed it off because I'm like, Black people don't typically jump off bridges. Like, I don't know anything about that. And it's like, I kind of downplayed it. And when he actually did some harm to himself, like I heard those words, like, so I always tell people like, man, if you start having that feeling, which I did, not in terms of like causing harm to myself. In the beginning of the pandemic, I never knew what depression felt like until then. And that was heavy to me, like I could see videos sometimes where I would walk away from the DJing and I would be so emotional from playing these records that I would just step away from the screen, tear up real quick, dry the tears, and then come back like, hey, I'll throw some sunglasses on, pretending that I'm trying to be cool. But really, I was just masking everything because that feeling was just so heavy. So I try to tell Black men, like whenever I talk to them, like, look, man, don't be afraid to talk to someone. Whether it's seeking, some, professional counsel or even talking to a friend, like I didn't know what you had gone through until one day when we had these conversations. And I'm like, man, like you never know the weight that someone is carrying, and that's why anytime you ask me to do something, especially when it comes to like this mental health and care, like in that space, like mental health and wellness space, like I have to do it because I know what that feeling is like.
Well, one, thank you. I thank you. We thank you for supporting my nonprofit Silence to Shame and all that you do now for the Mibo Show. And thank you for your vulnerability and opening up and sharing, this conversation, the words that you just spoke. It is healing. It's going to help save lives. And can't wait to get this conversation out into the community. So,
Yes.
you are loved. You're my brother, D,
Always.
and I appreciate everything about you. So, Denise, I want to, my next question is for you. How do community health workers bridge the gap for care for Black men? And can you share an experience of how CHW's expertise in culturally conscious care helped a community member or a patient or someone that might have even been in crisis around mental health?
Yeah. Well, we've just heard, right, one life story. And there are many steps along the way for people to be ready to access care, right? But then when you're ready to access care, you find, particularly for Black men, many barriers, right? Once you've made a decision, I think I need some help. I think I want to talk to someone. I can't do this alone. We find that it is more likely for Black men to, if they have a job, if they have employment, not to have healthcare coverage that comes with that employment. Okay. It is more likely for Black men to have lower rates of health literacy or health insurance literacy. That means even if you have healthcare coverage, whether it's Medicaid or some other plan through your employer, what does it really mean to have that insurance card? What does it give me access to? Right? So the barriers along the way often make it so that a lot of people wait, like we say, until their arm is falling off, until they're in a crisis, okay? And they have to find themselves in the emergency room, right? Or in an ambulance. So community health workers, first of all, we're in community. We're at the basketball game. We're at the soup kitchen. We're at the food pantry, right? We're in community. We're at the school, right? We're out on nights and weekends like I was doing HIV testing. We're there to be available because sometimes you need the open door, right? You need what's the first step? And the first step might be, hey, let me give you some information. Or it might be, hey, let's jump into this McDonald's and have a conversation, right? It might be finding out what's your motivation, right? How can I tap into why you want to get to wellness? But we know without good mental health, it's hard to keep a job, right? It's hard to manage other chronic disease like diabetes, right? It's hard to focus, to pay your bills on time, to care for others that you might have as dependents. So CHWs, we're making bridges. We're trying to find out what's top of mind for you right now. What would help you in this moment? So it's not a checklist. We don't ask the same questions to everybody. We're listening for, what? I think that's their motivation. I think I hear them saying if they could just get to here, life might be a little bit better, right? And then, of course, we're building relationship because the one and done doesn't do it for most people. Most of us are complex. And sometimes the way that mental health shows up could just be a symptom of something else, right? Something else that you didn't deal with way back when, or some trauma that now you're walking with and you're trying to live out your future. So it's about building those relationships, right? Listening, and then knowing where those services are, as I said, so that people can access what they need.
Ooh, I love that. You just said a whole word because you never know what might trigger you. Because we get so much thrown at us, and certain things will trigger us, right, Derek?
Absolutely. Listen, I was over here listening. I'm like, man, you nailed it because even I tell you, like growing up, especially like in this music business, I didn't have health care, so I was one of those people who, not even just because I didn't have health care, but also growing up in an inner city like that, like I wasn't on welfare, I wasn't with my parents, like, I was just one of those kids that was out there trying to make things happen. And yeah, I'll get a little scrape or whatever, like, yeah, well, I'll just wait for that to heal. Never went and had anything checked out, and like as an adult, as a grown man with kids now, it's like, no, I try to do better. I think I'm much better at it than I was when I was younger, but I really do try. But it is a practice. It is a practice. It's something that was just kind of foreign to kids like myself growing up. My kids, they grew up with healthcare. So they've been seeing your therapists and they've done all of that. My kids are very outspoken, especially my youngest. She'll tell you exactly what's on her mind. And I think that it's kind of beautiful to see a kid be able to articulate those feelings and whatever those concerns are, and like I love watching her exercise that, so, as we get older, we just try to do better for our kids, man, and do better for the world. That's what this
That's right.
conversation is about.
Absolutely. I love that. And, shout out to both of your beautiful daughters. And it's nice to see this younger generation, to your point, kind of standing up for themselves and being unapologetic about their thoughts and their feelings, right? And wanting to get help. That's a beautiful thing. So, we are post-pandemic now, so to speak, and life still be lifing. And it's important that we take time to respect and honor our feelings when we feel like we're stressed out or overworked or jumping on and off planes, right? And just making sure we have that support system and, that's there for us. Dee, do you have any musicians or DJs who you call sometimes when you just kind of having a day or you're feeling drained, or, what does that look like for you in terms of your support circle?
No, I definitely have friends, but I tend to keep it at home for the most part, because a lot of times whatever it is that I'm experiencing is so personal that,
Yeah.
I really want to share it with someone who I know understands exactly what I'm going through or had gone through something similar. But I don't internalize that feeling anymore. Like post-pandemic is way different than pre-pandemic D-Nice, Derek Jones. Like before, I was like on my own. I didn't really care to talk to anyone. Like it didn't matter to me. You could ask me how I was doing. I would say the same thing. No, I'm good. Meanwhile, inside, I was probably hurting or battling something. But like, yeah, now I don't hold back. And plus, I have this whole community. Here's the other thing that people tend to forget. What happened for 2 years, because we did 2 years straight of like being pretty much locked down and not being able to do anything. People went through a lot in 2 years, lost jobs, lost family members. And the thing that kept everyone together was these communities, these virtual communities that we all built. CQ may have been one of the first ones, but there were hundreds and thousands of them that actually saved lives, like people giving, just real ideas about how to get through this. Well, when you start seeing the people when the world reopens, they start sharing those stories with you. And those stories are heavy. I mean, heavy, when you're in front of someone who was like, man, I wanted to kill myself. Like, no, really, I'm not just saying that. I wanted to kill myself. I have to sit there and I have to listen to it. And I have to listen to it with some empathy and with real concern. I can't appear to be bothered by someone wanting to say, you did something really good for me. I hear those stories, I'm not lying to you, at least 50 times a day. Everywhere I go, no matter what, race you are, color, creed, it doesn't matter. They all say the same thing. So for me, it's like, it was heavy in the beginning. So I would have to go home and decompress and share this, with my partner or share this with one of my friends and just be like, yo, I just heard something extremely heavy. And then there's this gratitude that I feel knowing that I was one of the people who did something that mattered to the world. But it is a heavy burden sometimes, but it's one that I think God prepared me for, and it's one that I I handle it, man, because it's truly a gratifying feeling. Like people didn't have to listen to me. They didn't have to be on my IG live. You didn't have to buy a record back in the day. You didn't have to come see a show. And for people to still gravitate towards me all these years later, and even during this dark time, it's just magical.
Such a beautiful thing. And, Dee, you are ordained for such a time. Like you said, music was your passion. It was your love. It's what you did well. And I truly believe like God ordered those steps. And again, you helped uplift all of us. And I too understand how heavy of a burden it can be, because even doing this work that I do in the mental health space, I run into people, I don't travel quite as much as you do, but when I do travel, just hearing those humbling conversations of my husband's in therapy because of the work that you're doing, or my son or my daughter is getting help. And so we do have to take the time and stand in a place of empathy. But what a beautiful thing, right? To be able to save lives and do what you love in the process. So again, just, thank you for everything you've done. And again, you continue to uplift people's spirits. But I want to know, what does D Nice do for self-care? Like, What else other than playing music? Because I know that's your first passion, but what else do you like to do? What do you do when, when you just want to get out and love on yourself?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I mean, I used to enjoy, hiking was a big thing for me. It's part of the reason why I
Okay.
moved to LA. So like, yeah, now I'm getting back into that. Um, the treadmill has been great for me. I've never really been like an outdoor kind of runner. I always love the
Yeah.
treadmill because for me, it's all about timing and distance. And I like to know exactly what it is, like, oh, I ran 3 miles. I'm good. I like that. I don't want to say I ran past this grocery store 5 times. Like, no, I need specific numbers. Um,
Right.
uh, Physical therapy, man, I just started like, because all I do is stand up. I'm on planes and then I'm DJing for hours. I'm standing up, lower back problems. My neck was bothering me. But yeah, just getting those massages and then also I don't really listen to music when I'm at home. I only listen to
Nope.
music when I'm DJing,
Okay.
which is kind of crazy. So what I find to be therapeutic is I listen to, a lot of like podcasts or I like conversation and that's what helps me out. I love hearing, just conversations about life and, audiobooks and that's the mission that's what keeps me going now.
I love that. And I will say I'm a fan of your work as a photographer. I started just kind of seeing you picking up that habit over the years. And I got to say, you're really talented.
Thank you. I love photography. I'm looking at my toy right now. No, I love photography. It's always been a passion of mine since I was a kid. When I was younger, a lot of things that you learn when you're younger from your parents. Unfortunately, I didn't have parents in the household like that. So, like, even when it
Mhm.
came down to like photography, I would take pictures, but then throw away the negatives. Like, I thought that the power was in the print. Like, and then when this stopped, I couldn't find any of the prints, nor did I have the negatives. And it was just like,
Oh,
I didn't have anything tangible to like really show like my kids. So, I was like, listen, I'm going to always have a camera with me every day. Like last night, I played an event last night. I was at the Meta offices, and then I played an event for the Clive Davis Institute. It was their 20th anniversary. And when I walked into my hotel, in the lobby was Wilma, the actor. I can't remember his last name. He's on like that '70s show, and
oh yeah.
Maxwell, and we're all just sitting in the lobby at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I just started taking pictures because it was those are the moments that like I love sharing with people. Like where it's just the most random moments of like friends getting together.
That's so dope. And I just love how, like, you've always been right. A celebrity. They call me D Nice. I was definitely fanning as a young girl, had my crush on D Nice like all the other girls around the way. But now it's just so nice to see like how your celebrity has, just elevated so much more and to see you in the same circles and rooms as so many other athletes and entertainers that we love. Like, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad you're able to capture those moments. It'll be memories that you'll never forget.
Yeah, and I really do try to take those moments to inspire a generation of Black people, Black men and women
Mm.
to think outside of the box, like to see your own greatness, to not be afraid to be in these rooms. I was at the White House about a month and a half ago, and I was sitting in the Oval Office with the president and like two other people, one person, chief of staff, and then someone from my team, and just having like a regular conversation. I wasn't in there trying to pitch something. I was literally there just having a regular conversation. And we talked, and then we walked around the Oval Office. He was showing me pictures. And there was this part of me that felt like almost like I didn't belong there because I was kind of like in
Mm.
awe, like, wow, like,
Little bit of imposter syndrome.
yeah, you know what I mean? And then I realized, like, no, I'm actually supposed to be here. This is all divine. I'm supposed to be here. And like,
That's right.
just for that one moment, I was like, man, how did I get here? Like, and I thought about it. I was like, no, I worked my whole life to get to this point. Club quarantine or making music or DJing gigs. It's not about how hot you are or how many records I've sold, because I haven't really put records out like that as D Nice, the rapper, in decades. This was literally about the journey of being nice to people along the way. And those same people that you've been nice to are rooting for you. You know, like, that's why I was in the Oval Office. Or that's why when I walked into the hotel last night, Maxwell was like, yo. Or when I walked down the street and I could see a woman that's 85 years old, 85-year-old white woman that's like, oh my gosh, you're that DJ Nice. I listen to you. Me and my friend. Like, so it's like to be able to like go back and inspire my generation to say, hey, we're more than just one thing. We're not just a rapper or just a producer. Like, what, no matter what it is, it's your life. It's the only life that we have that we know of. And I do believe in God, but I'm saying in this physical, this is my life. And when it's my time, I want to go knowing that I left no crumbs on the table, that I did everything that I love, that I helped people, that I inspired people, that I raised some good kids, that I was a father figure to other kids that weren't mine, you know, and just to be this source of love and inspiration to everybody.
And that you are. I was just telling Denise before you got on that you were so gracious to answer my call. I had you come up to my alma mater, Syracuse University, and you rocked our reunion party in 2000 and killed it. And here we are 10 years later, still rocking with each other.
Denise, where are you from?
I'm in Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh, you're in Connecticut? Is that where you're from? From Connecticut?
No. My dad was in the Air Force. So I was born on Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, and moved around a lot before we settled here.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. This has been a great chat. You know,
awesome.
I hope, you know, we can actually do this.
Yeah, we're almost done. I just got a couple, like 2 more quick questions, and then I will give you all back your day. But I can't thank you both enough. Denise, I have one last question for you. What role do community health workers play in advocating for better health for their communities?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's most of what I do every day here. And without the advocacy work, I don't think that community health workers would be as effective. So we've talked a lot today about understanding people, listening to people, recognizing barriers, right? Trying to build bridges of trust and relationship and connecting people to the things that they need. All along that continuum, there are policies, real structures that prevent people, right, from moving ahead, from advancing to the next place, right, from getting to health and wellness. And so a lot of what we're doing is observing those policies and then giving testimony, right, at our state legislature. We just came from a great Hill visit and briefing in DC in March, where we brought 78 community health workers, flew them all down and had, you know, about 120 meetings with senators and their Congress people to talk about the great work that's happening in local community, but also that community voice is needed to make sure that these policies that historically were not designed for people who look like any of us on this podcast right now, or our elders, right, or many in our community, that these systems and sectors and policies begin to transform, because you can't have a high quality service if you have no respect, right? If I can't get it in my language, I know you're not thinking about me and putting me first. If you know you're only going to give me 15 minutes, right, in my patient visit, you know that before I even walk in, I know I may not have all the time I need with you to ask my questions, to look you in the eye, to feel like I trust you enough, right, to share some things maybe I won't share. So the advocacy is critical. And sometimes it is policy change, but sometimes it's just sharing stories and telling, you know, doctors and nurses and legislators and folks in philanthropy, look, this is what I see. Here's the potential to make. Here's what we could do. You know, it's not always pointing the finger, but it's casting a better vision. And sometimes that's what's needed. So I just love on CHWs. I just want to shout out, you have CHWs in your community right now, wherever you are, right? And I hope you connect with them and recognize just their leadership, their capacity, their compassion.
Yeah, shout out to the community health leaders. We can't do it without y'all, and the workers are out there on the front lines every day. We certainly appreciate y'all. D Nice, what's
Yes.
on the horizon this summer, my brother? Where's CQ going? Where can we find you? What's coming up?
Summertime is usually vacation for me. I take that seriously. I work all year. But summertime, other than like, I always end start the summer doing club quarantine, and well, not say always, because it's not like the quarantine has been here forever. For the last 3 years, I've done CQ Live in Cannes during Cannes Lion. So we're taking it back there. That's like an amazing time to see like a line of like 6,000 people trying to get in to have this musical experience. It's so beautiful. I always post my shows coming up, but the one that I'm really excited about is that 4th of July weekend. We're just trying to lock in a couple of more things, and it's a pretty big festival. Yeah.
We will be following you and tuning in to check all of that out. We added a special question that we want to ask all of our guests as we close out each show now for season 2 of the Mibo Show. All right, D, what songs? So, it's the Mibo Show, M-I for mind, B-O for body. What song stimulates your mind and what song soothes your body?
Stimulates my mind. Oh, man. I mean, that would definitely be a Marvin Gaye song. Yeah, that would be Marvin Gaye for sure. Anything off of What's Going On. So I'll probably lead with the title track, What's Going On.
Okay.
That is one that, I always play just for that purpose alone. What stimulates my body? What makes me feel good? This is kind of crazy. It's one of the songs from Tiana Taylor. Like, I just love that vibe. I love her vibe. I'm not gonna say the name of the song because it's like it has like this nice title to it.
That's okay.
I hear that song, I feel some kind of way. I'm like, yes.
Hey. I love that. I was waiting for that laugh too, y'all. D has the most infectious laugh, and he's actually a comedian undercover. He's hilarious and has such a great sense of humor. So I was waiting to hear that laugh on the show.
Yeah, that's why I love
All right,
you.
so Tiana and Marvin Gaye. All right, Denise, what song stimulates your mind and soothes your body?
Yep. Stimulates my mind would definitely be Curtis Mayfield, Move On Up.
Yes.
Definitely. I can hear it playing in my brain right now. And soothes my body, I would say one of my favorites is Whispers and Promises by Earl Klugh.
Ooh.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. D is a real music aficionado, so I'm sure he's impressed by what you just said.
No, that was great. Any Curtis Mayfield. I mean, his whole catalog is to uplift you. Uplift your mind. I mean, you can actually name a Curtis Mayfield song that will uplift your mind and soothe your body.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, I love those 2 songs. That's great. What about you, Shanti? Come on, you got to share.
I knew you were going to say that. I was sitting here thinking I actually wasn't prepared. But in terms of what stimulates my mind, I would probably say anything from Sade. Like,
yes,
I love her, and a lot of her music just kind of makes me think, and it transforms me somewhere else. So I really love all of Sade's catalog in that respect. And then soothes my body. Oh man, give me a New Edition song. Can You Stand the Rain? My brother Keith Sweat. How Deep Is Your Love? I'm gonna take y'all back to the 90s. I'm that girl. I'm old school. So shout out.
My daughter's 14. She's picking up on all that these days. She's bringing it all back, and we hear it in the house.
I love it. Well, I cannot thank y'all both for, this is season 2 of the Mibo Show, but it is the first episode. Y'all are on the first episode of season 2, so this is a really big deal. Let's give it up again for my brother, the legendary DJ D Nice, and let's give it up for Denise, who is out there on the front line with the community health workers. I want to shout out my partner, Johnson & Johnson. I couldn't do this show without you. And shout out to my producers and crew and everybody that makes this important. Again, we want you to focus on your mind and your body. It's not one or the other. Everything goes hand in hand. And certainly this was an important conversation today, talking about mental health in the Black community, specifically for our Black men. And I asked y'all to listen to the show. Check us out. The Mibo Show is available on all podcast platforms. You can look at us on YouTube and help us spread the word and spread the love. It's all about community. It's all about love. That's what Club Quarantine is about. It's about love. And you heard Denise talking about the love that's there with the community health workers, helping us live our best lives. So thank y'all again for tuning in today. And remember to rate and subscribe to The Mibo Show. Peace out.
Peace.